Hi, my name is Michelle Richards. Before I tell you my reason for coming to and working with MAD, I'd like to share some things about my mother. My mother enjoyed watching baseball with her golden retriever, Maggie, and she also loved sitting in her backyard by her pool. I remember every time my mother would watch my children, they would tell her, "We didn't eat." And my mother would look at me and say, "You didn't feed them?" And meanwhile, they had just eaten. I would come home, they would all be sitting on the dining room table, eating again. Unfortunately, those 3 memories I have of my mother are just that, memories. My mother used to tell my sisters and myself that if you want to make it in this world, be hardworking, dedicated, and truthful. That was very good advice. My mother lived her life that way. My mother was in the bagel business 27 years. And every day she would get up at the crack of dawn to go and open her bagel store. And she wouldn't come home until after 7 p.m. She worked 7 days a week with no day off, and the only time my mother didn't work was once a year for a week of Passover. My mother was a productive woman, having owned many bagel stores. She would open the store every day at 4 a.m., except for the morning of September 3rd, 1991. On that day, she never made it. The reason I came to MAD was because my mother was killed on her way to work by a drunk driver. An individual was coming back from his bachelor party. He was driving his car over twice the legal limit at a BAC of .237. He was driving eastbound, doing 60 miles per hour, and struck my mother, who was driving westbound, head on. We got the phone call about 6 a.m. telling us that there had been a crash and our mother was killed. After that phone call, I thought about the night before. I had an argument with my mother, and I made my daughter, who was staying at my mother's, come home with me. She was going to go to work at the bagel store with my mother, but in anger, I decided she was no longer going. My daughter to this day always says, if I left her that night at my mother's house, she would have made her late, therefore saving her life. One thing you should know about my mother: she was never late, and if you weren't ready when she was, you were going to be left behind. Even though it's been so many years, it still feels like that day. For me, the hardest part is that I never got to say the words, "I'm sorry." It eats me up every day that I couldn't call her and apologize. I was a mess when I decided to reach out to MAD. It was the best decision I could have made for myself. I have the opportunity to work with so many amazing people and law enforcement officers. I go on sobriety checkpoints, speak at victim impact panels, assist with the vigils and law enforcement recognition events, and am the logistics chair for Walk Like MAD Long Island, working with many community partners. Because of all the work that I do with Mothers Against Drunk Driving, it has inspired my 17-year-old granddaughter, Lana. She volunteers with me. She talks to her friends and peers about underage drinking. She has seen firsthand how her mother and myself have suffered over the loss of my mother and her grandmother. I am so grateful that my granddaughter is a strong and smart young lady, especially now that she is driving. However, it does break my heart every time I hear about another person killed or injured by a drunk or drug driver. It's sad that people don't understand the consequences of their actions until it's too late. They don't think their actions can affect others around them, but it does. So when I was asked to share my story today, I immediately said yes, because creating awareness to all signs of drunk or drug drivers is crucial to keeping others safe. My wish is that one day no other family will have to go through the pain that my family has endured because of the decision made by a drunk or drunk driver. So thank you, and may you all be safe.